session, and I'm really excited for our first speaker in this half. It's Diego Cresceri. If some of you are new to localization industry, Diego is a founder and the CEO of Creative Words, a very successful LSP that just recently, I think yesterday or the day before that, turned 5 years old. So congratulations to you, Diego, on that. And also, Diego is newly elected president of the board of directors of ELIA, European Language Association. So double congratulations to you, Diego.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you for having me and the nice presentation. You're right, we turned 5 on Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
So I saw LinkedIn post and I congratulated you, but I thought that I could bring it up in the chat so you guys can congratulate Diego. It's very successful. It's only 5 years old. It's insane. And Diego is always also very passionate about connecting the industry to the academia. So I think one more reason to call you a perfect speaker for this event.
Thank you very much. I feel the pressure coming after Renato and Maria and Jean. I feel that pressure, and congratulations for the great lineup of speakers. Because, can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think everything should be all right.
Okay.
In the chat, they say cool glasses. I agree. Can you hear Diego? Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Nobody's glasses to me, by the way.
Thank you for the comments on the glasses. Well, I was congratulating you for putting together such a great program. I'm not talking of myself, of course, I'm talking of the other speakers. So congratulations. I have to admit, I didn't know this event, and I want to, after Renato's comment, I hope as well that next year you'll be able to go back on site and then get an invitation for that as well. I'll be happy to come and join you. So yeah, you are right. I'm very passionate about the connecting the industry in the academia world. It's been a journey for me. I was always talking about the gap in the industry, the academia and industry gap. Now I'm changing my mind a little bit about that. I think we all need to take our own responsibilities in helping the students getting into the industry. Today, let me share my screen if it works. Or should work. Can you see it?
Should work. So, yeah, I can see the demonstration. And so, guys, do not hesitate to ask Diego any questions in the Q&A section. Diego is a great expert. If you want any advice on starting your localization career, he's the guy. So, yeah, Diego, I'm really excited to see what you brought today.
Thank you very much. Well, I would not define me an expert, but I can bring you the point of view of the LSP. This is the title. More than what's coming next, probably today I will be talking about what's already here, well, not what's coming next. So let's start. You introduced me already, so I'm not going to talk about me. First thing is, and I'm taking this from Nimsy, it's a big market and it's growing. So if we put together all these numbers, it makes more than 55 billion, and it keeps going year after year. And if you put together Asia and Europe, it's a big market for all of us, and that's a little bit of optimism for you, because I remember when I started, I was not aware of these numbers, and you always think machine translation is here, as Renato said, they are taking their jobs, our jobs, we are not going to make it. It's a big market and it keeps growing. So, of course, we cannot talk about the present and the future of the industry without talking about machine translation. We've been talking about that for 20 years now. As Renato said, it's been the great revolution has been with NMT, neural machine translation. There are now, I think, more than 100 providers of commercial machine translation. So it's out there. And again, I don't want to mention not all the time, but he said that machine translation already replaced humans, and I cannot but agree with him. We're not done with that. I think that we will see more coming. CSA recently talked about adaptive MT, so machine translation that will be able to adapt to domains and text types. The segment level would be disruptive, I think. So context-based adaptation as well. So we're not done. We'll be talking about that for 20 years now, at least since I joined the industry, and I did join the industry in 2005. So it's 16 years now. We'll be talking about machine translation a lot more in the future as well. Another thing that we are seeing more and more is what is called augmented translation, sorry. Augmented translation, despite this fancy graphic here that I took from another consulting company, CSA, is the approach where technology is used to sort of amplify the capabilities of human translators. And we are seeing that already. You can see the adaptive MT, content enrichment, terminology management. So the linguist is there in the middle, but we are helped by many, many things provided by the technology. And that's a reality already. And we need to understand how it works and to know that this exists. And my suggestion would be that you start, I'm talking to students now, you start to, to consider yourself as part of an ecosystem where technology plays, of course, a big role. Uberization, this is something that's not talked about too much in the industry, but it's been a reality. I lost many projects because of that, because I didn't know let's say, the phenomenon. And so imagine huge projects, very small files, for instance, for e-commerce. And this is where the customer build their own technology. And I think a European translation company first introduced this term in the industry. So they have their own technology and big volumes, small chunks of segments. And usually what this customer would do is they would go to, even to not only professional translators, but also to what's called the crowd. I've seen that growing more and more. It's there, I think. I mean, you probably have already heard about continuous delivery and about these huge projects where, of course, the customers need to save money and the volume is so big that they needed to find different ways of working. And I think it's important, if you're getting into the industry, to know that this exists. And you could consider the crowd, as I said, not only composed by professional translators, as your competitors. It's there, it exists, it can be an opportunity. It's also a threat, if you want, and it's competition, and it's there. But I don't only have bad news for you. There are more and more services that are needed in the industry. I listed here 3 of them. It's pre-editing, meaning that we're working on the source text before machine translation, for instance, comes into play. And this is something that's growing, and we've seen that a lot. Virtual and on-demand interpreting. Renato also mentioned that as well. It's been quite a disruptive thing last year, and it's growing a lot. And then we are witnessing a shift towards many other services that are not strictly related to translation. For instance, accessibility testing, meaning that, for instance, you analyze a website and you give a score to the website in terms of the text, the alternative text, and how accessible this website is compared to different items that you want to check. We've seen, it's not here, but I want to mention this. We've seen a lot of preparation of the files for machine translation, which is something that, again, is growing. That could go in the category of pre-editing, meaning that you prepare the files from a formatting and linguistic point of view for the machine translation to be able to process it in a better way. And always talking about machine translation. More and more companies are, of course, embracing this technology. We like to talk about human in the loop, meaning that the human intelligence is always needed in this case for these services, for evaluating the output of the machine translation and increase the training efficiency of the engines. And this is something that we see more and more again. Every day we are asked to evaluate a different engine. And of course, for that, you cannot just use automated evaluation. We need to have linguists, very prepared linguists to work on these services. Apart from that, there is data collection, which is also another service to the linguistic one, meaning that we create data for the machine learning systems, and we need people, we need humans to be there and create this data, which can be linguistic data or other kind of data such as video, images. SEO is incredibly growing for us. Of course, I'm talking for us only. I mean, that's my point of view personally for my company. SEO is also growing a lot. Every day we are asked to either to translate keywords, to collect keywords, to compare keywords, to create longer list of keywords called keywords enrichment. It's a big thing, SEO, and I think it's going to grow more and more in the future. Here I listed a couple of possible new roles. Again, it's not new, it's probably not the right word because it's something that's already there. Of course, we are, and when I say we, I mean LSPs, we are language service providers. We are in need of revisers and post editors. I'm not giving for granted that this is something that's, that natural. I mean, we are still encountering difficulties from young translators or former students to find them the technical skills needed for this kind of job. More and more, the linguists or let's say the co-workers or people we work with are asked to be able to find ways to optimize the workflows as well. I put here translation workflow engineer, but what I really mean is someone that is savvy about automations and way to optimize the processes. Multilingual knowledge manager is a fancy name for someone being able to organize and tidy up resources, and I'm talking about source language resources, and linguistic resource manager. Again, it's a similar role related to, for instance, glossaries, TM maintenance, and so on. These are the roles that we all need. Sometimes we hide them other roles, or we ask our people to do part of these roles as well. What my message here for you would be, and I see that every day, don't just think that you need to be a translator in order to be able to get into the industry, because there are many ways you can get it in the language service industry. And I would say more and more the other roles are easier to get into rather than just translation, because there's a lot of competition out there. And I'm talking about my market, which is Italy. There's a lot of competition out there, and the more you manage to find your niche and differentiate your services there, the better, I would say. More and more, we're not looking for just translators. I would use, and this is why I chose this title for this slide, I would choose the language experts name rather than translator, because as you can see, it's not just about translation anymore. It's much more than that. Maybe I'm going too quick. So it would be quite easy for me to list the technical skills that are needed for the industry. You probably are aware of that. For instance, managing the terminology, provide creative translation for task creation, for instance, use quality control tools, and these kind of things. Like, you need, of course, to be able to manage different file formats, You need to be able to understand the source and maybe even improve source quality, because more and more with, for instance, user-generated content, the quality of the source might not be in perfect shape. So you might need to improve the quality of the source while you translate, analyze sources. That's really important. Of course, translate as quick as possible. But any productivity tip that you can learn and apply would be welcome for us. I'm talking for well, each and every role that I've mentioned before. And Renato mentioned I think he mentioned the ability to integrate new technologies as well. So there's a full range of technical skills that can be learned and that we need. But I would like to concentrate more on the, again, soft skills. And I know that previous speakers have talked about that, but assertiveness and self-confidence, empathy, the ability to be able to talk with the customer and listen to them. And this is, again, something Renato has mentioned as well. Team spirit. You are not alone. I mean, you don't need to consider yourself that as if you were working alone at home and as a silo. You need to be aware of the fact that in every project, you are working in a team. So team spirit is really important. Of course, communication should be given for granted, but it's, again, something that's not really to find everywhere all the time. Creativity and this very difficult to pronounce words, inquisitiveness. I think the more curious you are and the more curious you are about what's next and what's going on in the industry, of course, the better. I can't but relate with Anata about the fact that the ability to learn and to learn how to learn, as I said, is really important, because we have technologies today that will not be there anymore in 2 years, and we'll have new things that we need to learn. So keeping an open mind on that is really important. And Renato, I remember and that struck me quite a lot, the power of saying yes. I like this story. It happened to me recently that I went the other direction, saying no. I would like not to contradict Renato. The power of saying yes is important, of course, but also be aware of your own limits and be honest to yourself and to your customers, because otherwise it gets quite difficult to then keep the promise. And I'm all for stretching and saying yes, because that's a very good way to learn and improve and learn new things and grow. But also there's a limit that you shouldn't, go above that. Would suggest that you say no when we're not sure that you can really deliver. What I've done here for the Perfect Translator, and I'm going back to the word translator here, is I asked my project managers to list me some skills or characteristics and features that they find in the Perfect Translators. The first one is, of course, they need to be on time. They need to be clear in their communication, and we go back here to communication that I was mentioning before. They need to be proactive. When I talk about team working, I need that we really, not myself, but the project manager and the linguistic team is a team. So the more proactive the linguist is, the more the team can, get to the project and meet the objectives of the project. Of course, skillful. That covers the range of technical skills that I've listed before. Flexible, and that's the PM speaking. Sometimes project managers are pushed from above and need to, digest some pressure, and then maybe sometimes put some pressure on the next item in the supply chain, which is the linguist. So flexible means also understanding that we all have different needs, but at the end we are working towards the same objective, which is the project success. Organized, responsive. We tend to prefer linguists who respond to our emails and communications as soon as possible, rather than after a couple of hours. And patient. Again, here is the question of understanding each other's needs for the benefit of the project. I want to almost close this presentation by saying that, of course, I talked about what's here in our industry now, and probably if I see this presentation in some months, or if not years, I would say some months, we will see different things. We will see new technologies. We will see different skills that are needed. For me, change means a chance, and constant change is really inspiration, is a way to improve, to learn. So change management is really something that should be in your heart and that you should train every day. One other suggestion would be, if you don't fail, there's again not so many opportunities to grow. So give yourself the opportunity to fail. Of course, take care of your own risks. Don't fail on bigger things. Just try and do small tests and trials, and this is where you can really learn day by day. Another thing that I want to insist on is ask for help. You couldn't imagine how many people in our industry, and I'm not sure this is peculiar for our industry or not, because this is the only industry I've been in, basically. They are really available to help. So try and build a strong network, and don't be ashamed of asking for help. I remember when I had to close this presentation, saying that you can contact him, ask questions, do that, because people are there to help you, and they want to help you. Maybe it's selfish thing where we want to feel important for someone else, but still, the result is that we want to help you, and we want to share. We want you to grow. We need new people and new blood in our industry. So do that, not just with me. Of course, I'd be happy to help, but do that as an approach to the whole industry. And let me reiterate as well that ability to adapt is the most important skill, because again, we don't know what's going to be next in 2-5 months. Let's not talk even about 1 year. Everything will be again new for everyone. So I think the ability to adapt is the most important skill that you should develop. Not easy, but focus on that, and I'm sure that you will succeed. Of course, no matter what you do, no matter the jobs you do, no matter what you accept as a job, the other important thing is, as I said, be honest, because otherwise you will not be able to keep the promise to your customers, and then you're getting in trouble, I would say. So be honest, keep the promise. If you talk about quality, if you talk about quick delivery, don't over-promise to your customers, because then usually, and I put my customer hat now, we don't like that. It's easy, it's difficult to earn the trust of your customers, but it's quite easy and quick to lose it. So try and keep the promise and be honest to yourself, to your customers, because otherwise, again, you will be getting in trouble. And I've been quite sharp, despite the fact that I'm Italian, with the timing, because I wanted to leave 5 minutes for the Q&A. So that would be my last, Anna, my last slide. And I'll open the Q&A session if you like.
Thank you, Diego. It was really nice to know that you tuned in for Renato's section, and also really interested to know that you guys have pretty much the same mindset when it comes to a perfect resource, a perfect person in localization. So we have some questions for you in the Q&A section, and also from the people who are joining from the same location as I am. So a question from our intern. You and Renato both said that it's important to learn how to learn, and your presentation featured soft skills. So, can you recommend good resources to learn more about soft skills as a freelancer?
Oh, let me start by saying happy International Internship Day or Interns Day, because I know that today is the International Interns Day. So congratulations to your intern. Oh, well, there are different sources where, talking about myself, for instance, it's been a journey, it's been a long process, and it's an ongoing process to train and to train yourself and train those skills. There's not a single source that I can advise where you could go and, learn how to be flexible or to develop listening skills. It's more sources and more, it's an ongoing process. So there are books on soft skills, on developing leadership, on developing negotiation skills. There are books out there everywhere. Now I'm reading a book about deep work, meaning how to focus, and I just finished that. How to focus and how to be able to deliver. So there are many. I would say start with the book, maybe. Don't try and learn too many skills together. Like try to prioritize the skills that you maybe feel weaker at, and then start with maybe short books, even trainings. I've gone through a lot of trainings as well. I started a long time ago, and it's ongoing.
Yeah, learn to learn and you never stop learning. We
Absolutely.
also have two questions of completely different fashion in the Q&A section. Question to Diego from Ilya. What problems do you face during localization process and how do you deal with them?
Oh, that's a very wide one. During the localization process, there could be anything. Could be the customer not knowing what we need for them in order to deliver. It could be technical issues. I mean, it's a very wide question. I think the biggest issues come when there are communication issues to start with. So it's almost always a matter of not understanding each other's needs and not being able to align on those needs. I would say more than technical issues, I would think that communication issues are more frequent.
Yeah, because an OSP is one thing that does it all. So there are a lot of issues that can arise. Also, the
Again,
factor, I
the
agree.
issues.
Now,
Yeah.
another question, also
Yeah.
completely different. Do you think that one day translator will be able to use machine translation as is? So without editing in some spheres, for example, IT?
Well, depending on what you mean by IT, maybe not for UI and UX, maybe, but for user assistance, I think. And also depending on the language, I think we are almost there. But yeah, I think we're almost there, but I'm not worried about it. I don't like to translate like long manuals. I don't translate myself, but let's think about this in this way. We will be able to focus on more interesting stuff rather than, the boring manuals about how to use I don't know, firewall. Who cares? I mean, nobody's gonna read it. So that kind of content could probably be appropriate for machine translation without post editing. For Italian, I think we are almost there, for instance.
That's really interesting to know about the Italian language. And also I wanted to mention that for those of you guys who don't know this story, when I was a kid in, I think, fifth grade, our history book featured a paragraph about how people went on strike when they invented sewing machine because, oh, I'm going to lose my job, but it's a machine that helped the fashion industry develop. So I hope that we can use MT just as that, as a tool to develop the industry. And
Absolutely.
it's really nice to know that Diego is also positive.
As Renato said, machine translation translates more in one day than we translate no language is 1 year. So I mean, we need it. The customers need it, and it's there. It's going to be there. Yeah, it's not a threat.
Okay, thank you, Diego, for tuning in, for answering all the questions. I think if you guys have any questions to Diego, you can type them still in the Q&A. We'll try to reach out to him. I know you are a very busy person, but we'll try to,
I'll be here for the rest of the day.
back to our guests have any questions. You guys are very passionate about Diego in the chat, really enthusiastic about his glasses. So I think we will have to move forward.